So you're thinking about buying your next car, whether it's new, used, and you're just starting the planning for it. Well, in today's video, I want to share with you some tips and things you should consider before deciding what is going to be your car or your family's next car. Let's get started right after this. Let's start with the basics, and let me share with you a simple theory about cars. You can apply it to other things, but it definitely applies to cars. There are three things that you can only have two of them at the same time. You can get to pick which two you want to have. You can either have good performance, good reliability, or good price. But you can only have two of those. Very few cars out there that will do all three and do them well. Some cars will do halves, but majority will do two of them very well. So if you go buy that good performance car that's super fun to drive and look at and be in and whatnot, that is at a good price, it's probably not going to be reliable. And if you go buy that super reliable car that is at a super good deal, it's probably not going to be a fun car. And you can apply that in multiple ways. Remember, you need to set your priority on which two of these three are important for you, because that's going to determine the kind of the trajectory of where you're going to decide to land on with manufacturers, as we're going to talk about in the next section. Once we figured out the top criteria for our next car, you chose two of the three. We're going to decide on which manufacturer you're going to go with, because believe it or not, if you look across the board, this is almost 100%. It's so close to that. You're going to find kind of three categories of manufacturers. You're going to have manufacturers that make reliable cars that are decently priced for the most part, not really fun. Or you're going to have manufacturers that make super nice performing cars, fun to drive and whatnot, and their prices are okay, but they're not reliable. And some folks will say that is just easy choice. Actually, it's not. And you want to hear this out. Once you figured out which two of the three you want, you're going to decide which manufacturer to go with. And here's how you do that. Every manufacturer will have their vision. For example, I'm just going to give you very few examples. If you want a reliable car that is decently priced, look at Toyota and Honda. These are two companies that do these two very well. Don't really do the fun to drive very well. God honest truth, some will disagree. There's always exceptions, but that's the general rule. If you want a good performance car that's fun to drive, fun to look at, it's just a great experience. And although some of them may be more expensive, but not something ridiculous, but they're not reliable. That's not their thing. Go look at a BMW and Audi, the greatest cars to drive. The minute the warranty runs out, things will go south. That's just not what they're meant to do, last long and be reliable. So you need to decide which manufacturers, not just these two, not just these four that we talked about, across the board, which manufacturers generally fall within the category that you're looking at. That's very important that you distinguish that. So we're starting to narrow down our search. There is no reason for you to look at a Toyota or Honda if you want a fun to drive car that is the primary thing about it. Go look at a BMW. There's no reason for you prioritizing a reliable car to go look at BMW and Audi. That's not what they do good. They do fun cars. They don't do reliable. Same thing with Toyota, Honda, and others. They do reliable. They don't do fun. That's where we start. Now, once we narrow down which priorities we have, the top priorities at the beginning, now we narrow it down to which manufacturers meets these priorities generally. Let's go to the next section where we hone down which model of these manufacturers. When it comes to picking out exactly which model, and now we're honing down on which model within a manufacturer, you need to make a list. And this is going to sound very nerdy, but you need to do this if you want to end up with the correct model that fits your needs. Look, we all have priorities in a car. I dislike sunroofs, but sometimes we're stuck with them. Somebody else will like, I want this big screen for the infotainment. Someone else will want none of these gizmos. I just want a basic car. We all have different priorities. So you want to make your list of priorities, right? The top 5 things you will not sacrifice. You will not buy a car that does not have a sunroof. You will not buy a car that does not have this feature or that feature or whatever the case. But then we gotta learn to compromise. And this is very important. You gotta be okay with the compromise. Just like we started at the very top, we compromised. We had to choose 2 out of 3. We compromised. Here, we're gonna do the same thing. Cut your list by a third. You can't have everything you want. Pick the 2/3. These are the absolute musts and sacrifice the rest. Now, if you can find it, great. But setting expectations when you're looking for a car is very important. That way, you're buying exactly what you want, not what you hope for. Buy exactly what you want. Now that you have figured out which manufacturer suits your priorities, which model suits your priorities, and it could be multiple models from multiple manufacturers, you're going to start going through these models. We're going to try to get that last third. Are we going to be able to get our full list or as close to it? Why not? I mean, at this point, we're sitting at home on our computer just looking around. We can do that multiple days a week and figure out, kind of hone down. We're going to dial down exactly what cars fit the bills before you even go to the dealership. And that's a very important part there. So now that we've narrowed down what cars fit our bill, what cars fit our needs, used or new? That's a big debate. And some folks will just stop right here. I will never buy a new car in my life. I will never buy a used car in my life. Don't lock. Keep your options open. Listen to reason and look around. Don't just put a full stop. Here's the reality of used new cars debate. There's advantages and there's disadvantages to either. I'm going to highlight the most important advantages, disadvantages here because there's a lot more. With new cars, I mean, the thing is new. It has a factory warranty. It's brand new. Nobody's ever owned it or did anything to it. That's the good part. You have the chance of taking care of it very well from day one. You're going to have the best possible result with this particular car. Disadvantage: depreciation and the high price. You will always pay a premium for a new car. And they always say, and it's correct, the minute you drive the car off the lot, it just depreciated a little bit. You just lost some money, and some folks are just consumed by that. But there's something I'd like to iterate here. A car is not a stock market investment. There is no gain. There is no return. You're going to lose that money regardless. Because just like you're going to have your new car depreciate, your used car will also depreciate. Your 20-year-old car will also continue to depreciate. That's just the reality with cars, folks. You need to have a long-term plan with cars to make sense of that depreciation. So having said that about new cars, let's go to look at used cars. Used cars, the best thing about them is you get more for your money. You already took some of that depreciation off, and you end up, instead of buying that base model new, you can buy the same model fully loaded at the same price as the base model that's a year or two old. That's the biggest thing, is the value of used cars. But at the same time, you don't know how the previous owner took care of it. And the older this car, the more miles it have, the higher that risk is. If the previous owner really took care of it, you really have no guarantee that they actually did. I mean, you see the records online, sure, but did they use the cheapest oil ever? Did they use horrible mechanics that didn't know what they were doing? You have no way of knowing that. You're just handed a key and here you go. You figure it out. It's your problem now. That's the only downside of used cars. It comes down to this, folks. If new cars are best suited for folks that buy this car, keep it for a very long time, really take care of their cars and take pride in them, that's the best owner of a new car, because they're going to keep it for long, they're going to take care of it. The chances of this car lasting the longest and being in the best condition for a long time is the highest. Except if you buy a car from the unreliable category. We'll talk about that in a moment. If you buy a used car, though, your initial research will be a lot higher than a new car. Because in a new car, you're not worried about its history. You're just looking at the data as it is. Is this car fit my needs? Good. Okay, let's go buy one. It's brand new and has a warranty. But with a used car, you got to research its history. Where has this car been? Has it been in accidents? Has it been here? Is it damaged? Is the place selling it shining it up and it's actually not as good as it looks? There's a lot more research at the beginning that you need to do once you find the particular car, pre-purchase inspection and all kinds of stuff. So you got to weigh in your options. But one recommendation I will do, that decision, consult your friends, your family, but don't talk to the ones that tell you only stupid people will buy new cars. Only stupid people will buy used cars. Because you will find those folks. And those are the kind of folks you want to walk away from when it comes to this decision. You buy the car that suits your needs and your family's needs. And you know what? My family's needs and my needs are different than my own brother, flesh and blood, needs and his family needs. So everybody has their priorities. Everybody has their top priorities and lowest priority, and they may be very wildly different. So you do what works for you, not for your friend that does not take any debate, his way or no way. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So I had to put this section in here just to answer one important question. Why would anyone in their right mind buy an unreliable car? Because of the majority of my viewers will potentially have that question in mind. Let's talk about it. Folks, not everyone's priority is to buy a car and keep it for 20 years and spend $3 on it in the process. That's not the priority for everyone. There's actually a large portion of car enthusiasts who love a fun to drive car, a car that has a soul. And I get that. I've owned cars like that. Horrendous unreliability. But if you know that going into it, then you know that and you're prepared for it. But if you go into it without thinking about that and all of a sudden it catches up to you, it's like, oh my God, this is horrible. Well, that's not a state secret. They've always been like that. So here is the thing with unreliable cars that are fun. There's a lot of them out there. They're not long-term cars. The best way to buy these cars, buy them new or lease them. Enjoy them while the warranty is there. Move on. You got to plan that from before you even buy it. If you must buy a used one, buy it with the best extended warranty you can get your hands on. They will be very expensive for a good reason, but it will be worth every penny for you to enjoy this car. And some folks right now will stop this video and say, these are money pits. They are horrible. Why would anyone buy a car like that? I did in the past. I loved every moment of it. My extended warranty didn't love every moment of it, but I did. Here's the bottom line with these cars. Expectation. You have to go into it knowing this is not a reliable car. For the some time that I will own it, it'll be very fun, put a giant smile on my face, but I will have an exit plan. Much shorter than a reliable car. That is not fun. That's the priority here. And there's something about that. Cars like that depreciate rapidly, a lot faster than your average car. But let's take a step back and look at the whole picture. All cars depreciate. Cars are not a good investment. Calling a car an investment is a very bad idea, folks. Cars, you will buy them at one price and in the end sell them at a much lower price. That is the norm. And it will cost you a lot in the process. Fuel, insurance, repairs, maintenance, upkeep, all that. It'll cost you a lot and it's always a losing proposition with the exception of very few cars. That's the reality of cars. So when you really look at the whole picture, they're all money pits. But are they? Because they are a necessity. They're kind of like your shoes. Yes, even with shoes, some shoes will appreciate apparently, but if you use them every single day, they're going to get old, worn, done, and they're worthless. That's the same thing with cars. It really depends what your perspective is. All cars depreciate, but sometimes you spend money on a hobby. You're going to lose that money and it's going to gain you nothing, but you enjoyed it. That's the value. So that's the way you should look at it. If you're going to buy a car knowingly that is unreliable, be prepared for it. Have a plan. Don't just go into it and expect it, oh, maybe some miracle will happen. Well, it's not going to happen because that's not the priority. You just got to set your priorities, and there's nothing wrong with that. And some will disagree that cars is a losing investment. Maybe if you are one of those lucky 500 that bought a Lexus LFA in 2012 at $375,000, you can disprove our point right here, because right now they're trending at $800K. What a magnificent investment. Just had to say that because that's a beautiful car. One of the cars that checks also 2 boxes. Not a great price, but it's reliable. It's very high performance. There you go. Let's talk about some final thoughts here. Now, here's an important thing. Do your research. You're not only going to do your research focused on, okay, what's my priorities? What am I looking for in a car? What does my family need? Or what are my needs for this car? You're going to watch others' perspectives as well. Folks, we live in an age where car reviews are everywhere, detailed from different perspectives. Not 2 car reviews will be exactly the same. Everyone will have their perspective. You're not going to watch 1 car review and decide. Watch 4 or 5. They're free, folks. Learn more about this model, because sometimes paper makes everything looks good, but when you go to see the reality, things change. So do your research. Once you kind of dialed in which models fit your needs, do your research and spend more time on the research than anything else. And here's another one. Once you're absolutely sure, oh my God, this car matches every single thing I need, don't go running to buy it. Go rent one for a week. Is it really as good as it looks on paper and video than it does in the real world? There are multiple sources to rent cars. Go rent that car. Maybe it's not going to have the same options, color, whatnot, but you're going to get a general feel of this car, because most dealerships test drive is so short and so programmed and specific. A lot of folks have regrets after buying a car because, oh my God, I didn't feel that the seat didn't do this, they didn't look at this. Go rent a car where you have it, you spend the time with it, put your family in it, maybe take it on a trip. Do what you normally would want this car to do to make sure it's actually 100%. Folks, cars are expensive in 2025. You're going to want to spend more time before you just hand out your hard-earned money or get stuck with a loan for a long time. You're going to want to make sure. And that week rental cost will be a huge benefit. If you end up, wow, this car was actually as good as I found, you will not only learn that this car is not for you, you will revise your research method, because you actually were about to buy the incorrect car based on your research. So revise your methods. And finally, and this is the most important thing, folks, don't learn about the car at the dealership when you're standing in front of it with a salesman or woman standing next to you. Nothing against salesmen and women, but just gotta understand they are humans. They make errors. They have multiple different cars around them. They can't know everything about single car. Their job is to help you with the sale. They're gonna answer any questions to the best of their ability. Don't expect miracles from sales, folks. You need to go into the dealership. I know everything I can find out on my own about this car. I know what my priority is. I know everything about this car. All I need is, can I take it for a test drive? Take it for a test drive. Look around it. Decide, yay or nay. Does this match the bill or no? Don't do your research at the dealership. That's a big mistake. You want to do it at calm, without a rush. Folks, buying a car is a very difficult proposition. And if you haven't bought a car in a while, let's say the last 10 years, and you're now shopping for a car, welcome to planet Mars. That's how it's going to feel like. Flat out. Things have changed dramatically over the last 10 years, and shopping for a car today is very different to shopping a car 10 years ago. So you need to be prepared for that. 90% of your research will happen at home, in the comfort of your couch, on your phone or computer or TV. That's where it should start, because you need to just gain knowledge about everything before you go look. That's very important. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.